"I'm sorry." Those were the first words Muhammad Ali said when he walked into Joe Frazier's hospital room. Not to the press, not to the cameras, just to Joe, the man he'd called ignorant on national television, the man he'd humiliated for years, the man who'd just given him the hardest fight of his life. Frazier looked at Ali standing there, barely able to stand himself, and what he said next shocked everyone in the room. October 1st, 1975. Manila, Philippines. Philippine Coliseum. The Thrilla in Manila had just ended. It wasn't a boxing match. It was a war. 14 rounds of two men trying to destroy each other. Ali had won by technical knockout when Frazier's corner stopped the fight before the 15th round. But nobody in that arena felt like celebrating. Muhammad Ali collapsed on his stool. His face was swollen beyond recognition. His body was shutting down. He told his cornerman, "This is the closest I've ever come to death." And he meant it. In the opposite corner, Joe Frazier couldn't see. Both eyes were swollen completely shut. His face looked like it had been hit by a truck. His trainer, Eddie Futch, had made the decision to stop the fight. Frazier had protested, tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't work properly. They rushed both fighters to separate rooms in the arena's medical facility. Neither man could walk without help. The damage they'd inflicted on each other was catastrophic. This wasn't sport anymore. This had been personal, violent, fueled by 3 years of hatred that Ali had carefully cultivated. But the hatred was fake, at least on Ali's side. And now, lying in that medical room, barely conscious, Ali was beginning to understand what he'd done. To understand this moment, you need to go back 3 years, back to when the hatred started, or more accurately, when Ali created it. January 1971. Before their first fight, Muhammad Ali needed Joe Frazier to be the villain. Ali had just returned to boxing after being banned for 3.5 years for refusing to fight in Vietnam. He'd lost everything during those years. His title, his money, his prime athletic years. Now he was back, and he needed to rebuild his image. He needed to be the hero again. But there was a problem. Joe Frazier was also a hero. Frazier had supported Ali during his exile, had lent him money when Ali was broke, had publicly defended Ali's right to refuse the draft, had called him brother and meant it. The public loved Frazier. He was the underdog, the hard-working Philadelphia fighter, who'd grown up in poverty, who'd worked in a slaughterhouse, who'd fought his way to the top through sheer determination. Ali couldn't be the hero if Frazier was also the hero. So Ali made a choice, a strategic choice, a cruel choice. He would make Frazier the villain. He would turn the public against Joe. He would create a narrative where Ali was fighting for Black America and Frazier was fighting for white America. It was a lie, but it was effective. Ali started calling Frazier ignorant, called him ugly, called him a gorilla. Worst of all, he called Frazier an Uncle Tom, suggesting that Frazier was subservient to white people, that he wasn't really black enough, that he was a sellout. These words destroyed Frazier. Not physically, emotionally, because Joe Frazier was none of those things. He was proud. He was intelligent. He'd faced racism his entire life and fought against it in his own way. He'd grown up in the segregated South. He'd been denied opportunities because of his skin color. He'd worked harder than almost anyone to get where he was. And now Muhammad Ali, the man he'd helped, the man he'd considered a friend, was telling the world that Joe Frazier was a traitor to his own race. Frazier's children heard it, came home from school crying because other kids were repeating what Ali said. Frazier's wife heard it. His community heard it. Millions of people heard it and believed it. Joe Frazier tried to defend himself, tried to explain that he wasn't what Ali said he was. But the more he protested, the angrier he got, and the more Ali used that anger to prove his point. "Look at him," Ali would say. "So ignorant he can't even speak properly. I'm fighting for our people. He's fighting for the white man's approval." It was psychological warfare, and it worked. The public turned on Frazier. Suddenly, in their first fight in 1971, Ali was the hero, and Frazier was the villain. Never mind that Frazier had done nothing wrong. Never mind that he'd actually been a good friend to Ali. Frazier won that first fight, handed Ali his first professional loss. But the victory felt hollow, because half the world hated him now. They fought again in 1974. Ali won a decision, but the hatred between them had grown. What started as Ali's strategy had become real animosity. Frazier genuinely hated Ali now. Hated him for the lies, for the humiliation, for turning his own people against him. And Ali? Ali kept playing the character, kept mocking Frazier, because it sold tickets, because it built the hype, because Ali convinced himself it was just business, just promotion, just the game. But it wasn't just business to Joe Frazier. It was his life, his dignity, his children's happiness. So when they met for the third time in Manila, this wasn't just about a championship. This was personal. This was Joe Frazier trying to hurt Muhammad Ali the way Ali had hurt him. And Ali, realizing too late what he'd created, was fighting a man who genuinely wanted to destroy him. The fight was brutal beyond description. Both men fought past exhaustion, past pain, past the point where their bodies should have quit. Frazier, nearly blind from swelling, kept coming forward. Ali, completely depleted, kept throwing punches. By the 14th round, both men were finished, broken. The fight had to end because continuing would have killed one or both of them. After the fight, in those separate medical rooms, something shifted in Muhammad Ali. The adrenaline faded, the persona dropped, the trash talk stopped, and Ali was left alone with what he'd done. With the fact that he'd created this hatred, he'd humiliated a good man. A man who'd helped him, a man who didn't deserve any of it. Ali's doctor was checking his vitals when Ali asked, "How's Joe?" "Not good." Both eyes swollen shut. Eddie stopped it to save his life. Ali was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I need to see him." His cornerman, Bundini Brown, said, "Not now, champ. You can barely stand. I need to see him now." They helped Ali to his feet. Every movement hurt. His legs trembled. His face was swollen. But he insisted. So they walked him slowly down the corridor to where Frazier was being treated. Joe Frazier's room was crowded. His trainer Eddie Futch was there. His doctor. His manager. They all turned when Ali appeared in the doorway. Supported by two cornermen, Eddie Futch stepped forward.
"He doesn't want to see you, Ali."
"I need to talk to him. You've said enough. For 3 years, you've said enough. Please, just 5 minutes." Futch looked back at Frazier, who was sitting on the examination table, unable to see, but able to hear everything. "Joe?" Futch asked. Frazier's voice was thick from the swelling. "Let him in." Everyone except Futch left the room. Ali walked slowly toward Frazier. Both men could barely move. Both had given everything they had in that ring. Ali stood in front of Frazier. Joe couldn't see him. His eyes were swollen completely shut, but he could hear Ali's breathing, could sense him there. And then Ali said it, the words that would define this moment. "I'm sorry." The room was silent. Futch later said he'd never heard Ali sound like that. No bravado, no performance, just genuine remorse. "I'm sorry, Joe, for everything I said. All those years. You didn't deserve that. None of it." Frazier was quiet. His swollen face showed no expression. Finally, he spoke. "You made my kids cry, Ali. You made them ashamed of their father. You told the world I was ignorant, that I was a sellout, that I wasn't black enough. And millions of people believed you. I know. You know what that did to me? To my family? I know, and I'm sorry. It was wrong. It was all wrong." "Why'd you do it?" Ali struggled to answer. "How do you explain that you sacrificed someone else's dignity for your own benefit? That you turned a friend into an enemy for publicity? I thought it was just promoting the fight. I thought you knew it wasn't real." Frazier's voice was harder now. "It was real to me, Ali. It was real to my children. You can't just say things like that and then take them back. Those words don't disappear. I know. Do you? Because you're still Muhammad Ali. The world still loves you. You're still the greatest. But me, half the world thinks I'm exactly what you said I was. An Uncle Tom, a traitor, and that doesn't go away just because you say you're sorry. Ray had no answer, because Frazier was right. The damage was done. The narrative was set. Ray would go down in history as the hero, and Frazier would be remembered, unfairly, as the villain. I can't take it back, Ali said quietly. I wish I could, but I can't. All I can do is tell you that it was wrong, that you're a great fighter, a good man, and you didn't deserve what I did. Frazier sat there in silence. His face hurt. His body hurt. But more than that, his heart hurt. Because even this apology couldn't undo 3 years of public humiliation. We almost killed each other tonight, Frazier said. We did. Was it worth it? All the trash talk, all the hate you created, was it worth this? Ali looked at his hands, swollen, damaged. Looked at Frazier's face, destroyed. Thought about his own body, which would never be the same after this fight. No, Ali said. It wasn't. Futch later told reporters that both men sat in that room for almost 20 minutes, barely talking, just existing in the same space. Two warriors who'd pushed each other to the absolute limit, who'd created something terrible between them, and now had to live with it. When Ali finally left, Frazier said one more thing. Ali. Yeah, I forgive you, but I won't forget. Those words haunted Muhammad Ali for the rest of his life. In the years that followed, Ali tried to make amends, publicly praised Frazier, called him one of the greatest fighters ever, spoke about the Manila fight with respect and even awe, but Joe Frazier couldn't let it go. The hurt was too deep, the damage too permanent. When they appeared together at events, Frazier was cordial but distant. The friendship they'd once had was gone. In interviews years later, Frazier would say, Ali apologized in private, but he never apologized in public. Never told the world he was wrong about me. So the world still believes his lies. And he was right. Most people who know about Ali versus Frazier still think of it through Ali's narrative. Ali the hero, Frazier the villain. The truth is more complicated, more painful. Muhammad Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1984. As his condition worsened, as his speech slowed and his movements became limited, he seemed to reflect more on the past, on the things he'd done, the people he'd hurt. In a 1996 interview, a reporter asked Ali about his regrets. Ali's voice was quiet, slurred from the Parkinson's, but his answer was clear. Joe Frazier. What I did to Joe. That's my biggest regret. Have you told him that? I told him in Manila, after our last fight. But I should have told the world, should have made it right publicly, not just privately. Why didn't you? Ali was quiet for a long time. Then he said, pride, ego. By the time I realized I should, too much time had passed, and I didn't know how. In 2001, Ali and Frazier were both invited to attend a ceremony. They were photographed together, shaking hands. Ali could barely speak by then. Frazier was cordial, but his eyes told a different story. A reporter asked Frazier if he and Ali were friends now. Frazier's answer was honest. We're not friends. We'll never be friends. But I don't hate him anymore. I used to. For years, I hated him. But hate takes too much energy, so I let it go. That doesn't mean I forgot. Doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt. But I'm at peace with it. When Joe Frazier died in 2011, Muhammad Ali released a statement. His hands shook as he signed it, the Parkinson's making even simple movements difficult. The statement read, "The world has lost a great champion. I will always remember Joe with respect and admiration. My sympathy goes out to his family and loved ones." It was respectful. It was kind. But some people noted what it didn't say. It didn't say, "I'm sorry." It didn't acknowledge the years of mockery and humiliation. It didn't set the record straight. Maybe Ali thought that was understood. Maybe he thought his private apology in Manila was enough. Or maybe, even at the end, pride prevented him from making a full public accounting of what he'd done. We'll never know. What we do know is this. In that Manila hospital room in 1975, two broken men had a conversation that nobody else heard. One man apologized. The other man forgave, but couldn't forget. And that moment, that honest moment away from cameras and crowds, revealed something important. Muhammad Ali was human, flawed, capable of cruelty in pursuit of success, capable of regret when he saw the consequences of that cruelty. And Joe Frazier was more than the villain Ali had created. He was a proud man, a great fighter, someone who deserved better than to be a prop in someone else's story. The Thrilla in Manila was the greatest fight in boxing history. But the real story isn't the punches they threw. It's the words that came after, the apology, the forgiveness, the hurt that never fully healed. Because sometimes winning costs more than losing. Sometimes the damage we do to others in pursuit of glory can't be undone. Sometimes "I'm sorry" isn't enough. And sometimes the bravest thing a champion can do isn't fight, it's admit when they were wrong. Muhammad Ali learned that lesson in a hospital room in Manila. Learned it from a man whose respect he'd destroyed and whose forgiveness he didn't deserve but received anyway. That's the untold story of Ali and Frazier. Not the fights, not the rivalry, but the moment when the masks came off and two men faced the truth of what they'd done to each other. And the sad reality that some wounds, even when forgiven, never fully heal.